to do a career change at 30. Maybe you might have to take a hit on the ego. You're working with those younger people just to say yes to every opportunity. So I think getting back to basics is crucial. Taking that step backwards, you need to start from the bottom.
Sophie Kober, Strategic Partnerships Leader, shaping the future of cybersecurity in Australia.
With years of experience in sales, partner management, and enterprise growth, she has played a key role in shaping the industry.
Sometimes the receptionist can end up running the company because they know everything from the ground up. If you're willing to start at the bottom and you're willing to grind, then it's for you.
Sales training and methodologies.
Oh, I don't have one.
Sophie, thank you so much for joining. Great to see you again. You look amazing.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Super curious to ask you a few questions, particularly around the life in tech sales, what it's like on a day-to-day basis. You've done a variety of different roles, but I really want to start off by asking the question around you getting into sales later than most. You got in, I think, at the age of 30. You had a career or two before that. Tell us a little bit about your journey in getting to the decision where you thought, I'm going to give tech sales a go.
Yeah, good question. So I think I'd always done sales in a variety of vocations. So whether it had been a hospitality or different odds and ends. But I think the change came when I was in the events industry and I was feeling burnt out. And I thought, you know what, I need to take some time off, really clear my head and see what I could do. And then it all became a chance encounter in a lobby one day with someone who recommended me to meet a sales leader in tech. And at that point I was in a fork in the road. So I was going to go down either to be in real estate or to be in tech sales. And then, I met the right kind of people. We just had the right kind of chemistry. And then I trusted the decision to get into tech sales. So here I am.
Here you are. And you've done a variety of roles from individual contribution to team lead to management, and you're back as an individual contributor today. What's that journey been like? And I guess how have you landed back in individual contribution after going what most people say the traditional is sort of a one-way door of management and you stay up there? How have you ended up where you are now?
Yeah, I think variety is a good spice of life, I suppose. And I think going in as an individual contributor, being an SDR and learning it from the ground up was a really good, safe way of getting into tech sales. And I think you just learn on the front line what it is to be constantly rejected and to kind of grind, and then to go into SDR management role. Then start working with the marketing engine, then with the sales engine, and it all kind of comes together. So you kind of have a 360 view of sales and marketing in that respect, which I found, really challenging but really rewarding. And then, to go back into being a frontline salesperson as an account executive, I think that's important as well, to kind of, always change from management to being amongst the people that you manage. I think that's incredibly powerful because you need to stay relevant. You need to sharpen your sales skill set. You need to deal with customers directly. You can't really hide behind the numbers in that respect. So for me, I found that's the most challenging and rewarding part of what I do. So now I'm in the channel, which is completely different to like everything that I've done before. But again, dealing with multiple layers of stakeholders and yeah.
I want to ask a question. So you built a career and then you restarted a career again. And I say at the age of 30 because most SDRs, they come in out of university graduate, early 20s, because it's a hard job. Yeah. What was, what was that like going back to ground zero from the stage of career that you were at, and how impactful was the skill set that you learned as an SDR in terms of like how you operated as a more senior person? Yeah,
I think the term that springs to mind is humbling. So very humbling to do a career change at 30. And I think, sometimes that taking that step backwards can really accelerate your career 3 to 4 times more, in the future. So it's all about what's your long-term strategy. Maybe you might have to take a hit on the ego. You're working with those younger people, but your experience carries on through. So you are able to go through and maybe get promoted to management after that. So for me, it was, working across, I'd worked in government, I'd worked in pharmaceuticals. I had a really diverse background that kind of helped me. I'd worked in London for 4 years. So that kind of helped me, just kind of take all that experience, but also, having the right kind of management that allowed me to also take that step down without hurting the ego too much, but build me up. So I think getting back to basics is crucial. I think anyone that goes into tech from another sales industry, you need to start from the bottom. Like, it is so important, because you need to learn the cadence, you need to learn the rejection, you need to learn the fundamentals before you can launch into an AE role. And I had a manager at the time say to me, Sophie, sure, I can put you in as an AE, but you're going to fail. And I know you're good, but you're not that good. And so I just trusted him, and I trusted what he said, and he was right. So I think, the right kind of management, but the right kind of attitude is also really important.
When you think back, was there anything that wisdom brought to you that allowed you to accelerate your progression as an SDR? And what do you put your success down to?
Wisdom. What kind of wisdom did I have? I think I just trusted the process.
Yeah.
I think that I had a long-term goal. I wanted to be in the industry a long time. I liked, how fast-paced it was, and I liked everything about it, and I loved the people that I was surrounded with. So the wisdom that I would think was just to say yes to every opportunity, 100%. So the reason I landed at that job, being an SDR, was I just said yes to everything. And I don't regret that at all. So that would be my one piece of advice there.
Hey guys, I really hope you're enjoying the episode. Imagine if you had your top 3 sales reps continually on the hunt for top talent as you scale your business. That would be amazing, right? Because we all know that talent can spot talent. Well, that's basically what happens when you partner with Bluebird. We help SaaS leaders like you build high-performing teams, introducing you to the best talent in the market fast. If finding A players is a vicious game of hide and seek, let us help you so you can get back to doing what you do best, serving your customers and running your business. Make sure you click on the link in the description, and we look forward to chatting soon. Now, let's get back to the conversation. So I would imagine that you took a step back in your career.
Yep.
And looking at what you've achieved today, you've taken multiple steps forward, and
Yes.
Probably well ahead of where you were
Absolutely, yeah.
previously. Can you talk a little bit about what have been those steps forward? What has your career given you from a career development, personal development perspective?
Yeah. Okay. So I think that it's taught me to take risks. So taking that step backward, as you said, to accelerate a couple of steps forward, has told me that it's always a gamble. So every job I do is for the first time. So every opportunity that I take, someone thinks of me and they say maybe, so if you know what, you'd be really good at it. And I just take the gamble and I say yes. And so it's kind of taught me just to back myself. And what's the worst that can go wrong? Nothing,
Have you ever failed in those
Of course,
circumstances?
absolutely. But it's motivated me to do even better. So that fear of failure that I have, which is my number one motivating factor in my personality, I would say, has just taught me to, kind of reach for the stars in that respect. And, the sky's the limit. So everything that I keep doing just keeps getting better and better and better. So, I've gone from doing SDR to SDR management, account executive, now to channel sales, now to ANZ strategic lead. So for me, the next step is not necessarily management, but potentially, individual contributor again, because I want to kind of get back to just the basics.
Yeah.
And I think that I actually learned that from a previous manager. He'd go from VP to being a sales rep, and he would do that every couple of years because he wanted to stay relevant.
The market is peculiar at the moment. It's been, the last, I'd say 2 years ago during the height of COVID and hiring, it was a candidates market, and then there was the redundancies and everyone slowed down, and it's an employer's market. Yeah. And what I've noticed from a a hiring perspective is that hiring managers often want someone, I call it paper perfect candidate. They want someone that is done the same role for the same market segment, the same sort of technology, same motion, same sort of experience before. And that's the unicorn, potentially. But those unicorns are very, very rare. And it seems like a risk mitigation strategy. They go, if I get exactly the right person, then we'll definitely be successful. What advice or counsel would you give to hiring teams that that they don't necessarily need to go for that unicorn, and actually they could be looking at other potential contributions or capabilities? And again, you're the living case study of someone that's done that multiple times.
Yeah, absolutely. I would call myself the wild card. Always.
The wild card.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've always been hired because I'm outside the box, never because I'm inside the box. And sometimes I take rejection as a blessing. Rejection is protection in some respects. But what I would say to hiring managers about, going away and looking for that unicorn is, look at someone who can bring a 360 view of the world into that job, who's done lots of different types of roles and responsibilities, because what it shows is that they can manage cross-functionally across multiple stakeholders, but also that they can kind of bring different skills from different industries. So how I look at it is every role for me is an opportunity to learn a new skill. I don't want to always do the same thing. That's not going to help me learn or progress my skill set. So I think that companies should do the same.
I love that. And as you're talking, I think there should be a model of having a wildcard strategy. Out of every 5 hires, one's got to be a wild card.
Absolutely.
And you're not going to always get them right, but I bet more often than not that wild card is actually going to be the top performer.
100%.
So, yeah.
100%. Because, and especially if you have that attitude that you are that wild card, then that becomes your mantra. You've got to work harder. You've got to work smarter. When I first walked in to my current company and they said to me, "You're not technical," the sales leader had said that at the time. And I said, "Well, how's that working for you? If you're talking to me, you need the wild card." And then I'm still there 5.5 years later, and I'm the only one left in that respect. So,
as you're talking, I'm thinking about the concept of diversity.
Yeah.
Right. When we always talk about diversity is so important, and I've learned and adapted my perception of the value of diversity, and I've come to the conclusion that diversity drives innovation within organizations. Diversity from males, females, age, backgrounds, cultures, etc. You're just going to get an additional perspective. But you know what? No one ever includes the wild card is diversity. And it is, really, isn't it?
True.
You're actually getting someone from a different industry sector and if anything, it's potentially less risky if they've got a lot of the core capabilities when it comes to sales. So
no, I totally agree, because a lot of people in their current company have been there for a long time. So how are they going to get an outsider's knowledge? How do you learn from people outside your tribe? Yeah. That's the biggest way, or the path to growth. So I feel like, that's why you need people that kind of bring something extra.
So you've been with Veritas for 5.5 years now.
Yeah.
Obviously doing a great job. Congratulations. Overachieving, adding value to your clients, partners, the business. What would you say the top 3 reasons for success are? What has allowed you to continually deliver year after year, and what is a relatively fast-paced industry?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it goes back to when I first turned up to Veritas, and I would talk to customers and partners about what was going to make me successful with them and them successful with us. And the number one thing they said is, do what you say you're going to do, show up. And again, being tenacious would probably be the second point. A lot of people are dealing with a lot of different, vendors. It's very noisy. It's very crowded. So how do you stand out? But how do you also, it's all about timing, right? So how do you keep showing up and keep that cadence and that interaction? And I think that that's also really powerful. Just because someone says no the first time, you might be relevant in 6 to 12 months. So it's all about keeping that cadence in the background. And the third one would just be, be trusted. Be a trusted advisor. How can you make them successful? How can you understand their business? How can you make them profit? How do you understand their business model? And I think that they're really three key things that have worked really well.
When you think of leadership and leaders that get the most out of their team, is there anyone that stands out? And what are the characteristics that they bring to the table?
In previous roles, current roles, names?
You pick.
So my current leader, the MD, I would say that he's a bit of a wild card himself. So me and him really kind of gravitated towards each other and really understood how each other worked. And I think that he's been an amazing asset for our organisation. We've had 0 turnover in 3 years because of his leadership, which is pretty incredible. So 0 attrition.
And what is, like, double click on his leadership? What are the characteristics? What does he do differently than someone else?
A lot of trust,
Okay.
you know, and he also buffers. So, you know, you've got a lot of stress and you've got a lot of noise as a sales leader. He protects his team. He makes you feel valued. And I think that that's been an incredibly powerful thing, you know. Sales is very high pressure. You know, everyone wants to know everything. You have to tell everyone different things a million times. But, you know, having a sales leader that really cares and protects you from a lot of that noise has been amazing.
So really someone that's focused on the people side.
Absolutely. People and culture.
People and culture, and creating an environment where people want to turn up every day.
Yeah. So I think I've told you this previously. Monday morning, 9 o'clock, we have a sales meeting. It's my favourite meeting of the week. And that has never happened in my entire career. Yeah. That's how good it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me about that meeting. Like, why is it so great?
I don't know. I think we all just come together after the weekend, and it's a chance to connect, a chance to reset. Yeah. It's a chance to get excited. That's why that meeting is powerful. But it's also the way it's run. There's some ad hoc things that go in. There's some creative PowerPoints, but it's not just all about the numbers. It's about what's going on in the organisation, which, you know, is very rare these days.
How do you continually, talked about sharpening your skills, I call it sharpening your blade. How do you invest in mental health, well-being, physical well-being to continue to show up both mentally and physically at your best?
Yeah. I've learned the importance of sleep, finally. But also even this morning, I knew I had this podcast. So I went for a big walk. You know, I grounded myself. I made sure I was, not rushing. It's just kind of being more intentional every day, journaling, writing things down, being prepared, showing up. I don't like to wing things. I think that, there's some really amazing people that can wing things. I'm not one of them. I have to really be prepared, just to have a lot of structure around what I do. So for me, it's, whether it's at the gym or whether it's walking or swimming, the water is such a powerful healing tool as well to kind of clear the mind. Yeah. And I think in Sydney, we're very lucky that we have that all available. So I do prioritise those things these days.
Yeah, it's important. It's important. And I get distracted easily. I'm listening to your description there. I go, I should do all of those things.
Yeah, it's time, right?
Yeah, I'm a wing it by the seat of my pants sort of guy. But
I'm envious.
but I would love to. I have also started to do planning, and I'll do some planning on Sunday night and start to block out what I'm going to be doing. Actually, on that note, like, how do you plan and prepare for your week or day or month ahead? Do you think in blocks of a day or a week?
Actually, in that sense, I am more ad hoc, as things come up, because a lot of my job is proactive versus reactive. So it's all about how to, who the people that I need to connect with that week, what are the priorities. It's a long sales cycle, for us. So in that sense, it's, it's very busy. It's a lot of, keeping in touch with people, but also, lots of updates, lots of technology updates. But again, I'm a bit more winged in that respect. I don't know if that really makes sense. Sorry.
No, it does. It does. It's a hybrid. I guess it's being deliberate when you need to have an outcome, but having flexibility to not be too rigid as well. So being able to balance that.
Actually, if you were speaking to any other person about me, they would say the opposite. They would say, if we're traveling, I am incredibly structured, incredibly rigid. We had, a global visitor down, and I think I'd had maybe 15 meetings for him across 3 states, and he left exhausted. And he was like, "Really, Sophie?" But you got to maximize all this time, the time in the day that you have, and to see the people that you need to see. So, so maybe my perception of myself is different to what other people think as well.
I guess it's mindset.
Yeah.
Mindset. For those that are considering a career change, to people that are looking at getting into tech industry, looking back on the last few years that you've had in the industry, what advice, counsel, tips, recommendation would you have for someone looking to consider some sort of crazy move into a new industry, or even a step up into a new role?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I actually get that question a lot. How do I get into tech?
Yeah.
What is the right path? And my response would be, if you're willing to start at the bottom to be successful, and you're willing to grind, then it's for you. But if you're wanting to come in and have expectations that are, potentially going to match what you're doing now from a salary perspective, but you don't have the skills, then you're really setting yourself up to fail some of the time. Not all of the time, but I have seen the best reps be SDRs, and you can do that at any age. You can do that in your 20s, you can do that in your 30s. It's nothing unreasonable. So my advice would just be prepared to go back to basics. You've got to. Sometimes the receptionist can end up running the company because they know everything from the ground up. They're the most successful people. So, just be willing to put your ego aside. Yeah. Roll your sleeves up, learn everything. And it's also a really safe way to enter a company because everyone's invested in your success. They're less likely to, see you fail if they've nurtured you from the ground up.
Let's just say that there's a chapter that you're in of your career, your life at the moment. Everything is typically a cycle, a beginning to an end. At the end of this chapter, whenever that may be, what do you want to look back and say is your achievement of what you've accomplished?
Do you mean in my current role or in my sales career?
Either or, whether it's your current role when that comes to the end of its chapter, whether it's a change in sales, if you want to go off and try something new as an example, but just reflecting back on, these are the top, 3-5 accomplishments that I want to be known for, both myself and those in my environment.
Okay. I think I'd probably want to look back on my sales career as a whole, and I don't see myself doing that forever in tech. But the 3 things that I would probably want to probably look back on and be remembered for is being that trusted advisor, and always putting my customer first. I think that's you're only as good as your last deal. People remember you. I know it's so cliche, but they don't remember what you did. They remember how they made you feel, that kind of thing. I think that for me is something that I would want to be remembered for. The second thing is that I just gave everything a shot. I think sometimes, especially as a woman, you have a bit of imposter syndrome. You do have that, maybe I'm not good enough, or maybe I don't have the right experience, but you do. And I also coach other women in that respect. So for me, it's, how have I kind of done everything that I possibly could have done to be successful and not kind of shied away from opportunities. And then the third thing actually will kind of springboard from what I said about women in tech. I'm really passionate about that. And, I've met a couple of women that were in different areas, they're in marketing or they're in administration, and they're fantastic salespeople because, they've got all these skill sets that have, launched them into a sales career. So for me, I want to work and lean more into that, is, how to grow and develop women in tech.
Yeah, amazing. Do you know what I think is fascinating is, as you talk through each of them, none of them is about yourself. They're all about how can you help other people to be successful, whether it's your clients, your team, or women as well. I think that's incredibly powerful. And I think it's rare that you ask a salesperson, a sales leader, where they don't say, I want the fancy car, I want the big paychecks, etc. I mean, everyone's motivated by different things, but I think if you truly help other people and you are there as the trusted advisor, then the other stuff, if you wish it, will probably take care of itself.
Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Because you're only as good as the people around you. I truly believe that. No one is an island.
Yeah. In terms of development, personal development, career development, are there any podcasts, books, training courses that you invest your time in learning or listening to or reading?
Absolutely. I consume constantly.
Okay.
I'm always consuming. So in the morning, I'm listening to 2 podcasts before 9 o'clock.
Every day?
Yeah, every day, definitely. Because, I'm either doing that morning walk or going for that swim or driving to that place. So for me, consuming content is really important. I do like the Diary of the CEO. I find his stuff really good.
Yeah.
I listen to the Daily, the New York Times.
Okay.
Sometimes they're professional, sometimes they're personal interest stuff, but I think anything also you can be adding to those conversations with your customers. They're not always going to be wanting to talk about tech and, your conversations, if you have the right relationships, they want to know about, lots of diverse topics and diverse things. So how can you always be kind of relevant around world events or trends and topics like that? So from a personal development standpoint, podcasts are very good, but also, I was looking to kind of go back and hone my skills in negotiation. I saw something on a colleague's LinkedIn the other day, and I thought I'd ring that college up and I would see what I could do over the summer while I was, that dead zone in January where nothing's happening. How can I constantly be evolving? Because, I don't pretend to be the expert in anything. I'm always looking to kind of grow and develop.
And probably one of the reasons you become a top performer. I wanted to ask a question around sales training and methodologies.
Oh, I don't have one.
You don't have one?
I would love to. I know Medic is very in and, I've been briefly trained and stuff, but I just, BANT is really powerful. Don't underestimate budget, authority, need and time.
Yeah.
They're the basics, and cadence and following up. Yeah. I think even I was approached the other day by someone who reached out to me on LinkedIn about the property market. I was keen. I wrote back, never received an email, had to follow them up. So, yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of sales 101, a lot of it.
Yeah. I mean, I took the hook, and what was the follow-up? So I think it is really basic. I don't think there's that's just in my mind, but people want to buy from you if they trust you.
Yeah, it's interesting because Medic has become super popular.
Yeah.
MedPick, that's the
MedPick's
super popular
new
one.
Yeah.
That extra P is incredibly important. Yeah. But I see sales, these sales tools and methodologies, qualification tools, methodologies, whatever you want to call them, as really tools that allow organizations to scale. I think natural A players, top performers, don't necessarily need to go from A to Z, but from a management perspective, it gives you a framework to anchor back to and go, have you spoken to the economic buyer? Have you got your champion, etc.? So I think I do see the value in scaling, but at the same time, I was never trained when I was in my earlier days in Medic. And even in my latter days, I was training my team on BANT as well. Yeah. Depends on the complexity of the sale, but a lot of it is just kind of 101, just do the basics right.
Yeah, and also if you're super motivated, and when I used to hire people, I'd say, what motivates you? If you've got someone that's motivated by fear or failure, you don't have to manage them; they manage themselves. So that's they'll just get it done.
How do you test for fear of failure? Because that's such a great.
Because they'll never say it. No one would ever say that unless they meant it.
Yeah.
I've never, money is a huge motivator too, but you're right, you can't test for it. But I think if you're self-aware, you know that's what that is.
But from a hiring perspective, if someone's looking for a sales rep and go, actually, I want someone like Sophie to join my team because she's going to hold herself accountable more than I'm going to hold her accountable, then what a great hire. What a great piece to look for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, awesome. Well, thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I really enjoyed that.
I really enjoyed it as well.
Yeah.
There's lots of great nuggets, and appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you.
Cheers.